enjoying solitude and other people, the conflict between being alone and being with others. This apparent contradiction is actually not that difficult to resolve. Like anything else that really matters, relationships make us extremely happy when they go well and very depressed when they don't work out. People are the most flexible, the most changeable aspect of the environment we have to deal with. The same person can make the morning wonderful and the evening miserable. Because we depend so much on the affection and approval of others, we are extremely vulnerable to how we are treated by them. From an adult perspective, Mark was foolish to possibly risk his life for an old watch, no matter how sentimentally valued it was. But this episode illustrates an important general point that a social situation has the potential to be transformed by redefining its rules. By not taking on the role of the victim that had been imposed on him, and by not treating his assailants as robbers, but as reasonable people who might be expected to empathize with a son's attachment to a family keepsake. Mark was able to change the encounter from a holdup to one that involved and leads to some degree a rational democratic decision. In this case, his success was largely dependent on luck. The robbers could have been drunk or alienated beyond the reach of reason, and then he might have been seriously hurt. But the point is still valid. Human relations are malleable, and if a person has appropriate skills, their rules can be transformed. The pain of loneliness. Most people feel a nearly intolerable sense of emptiness when they are alone, especially with nothing specific to do. Adolescents, adults, and old people all report that their worst experiences have taken place in solitude. Almost every activity is more enjoyable with another person around, and less so when one does it alone. People are more happy, alert, and cheerful if there are others present compared to how they feel alone, whether they are walking on a assembly line or watching television. But the most depressing condition is not that of walking or watching TV alone. The worst moods are reported when one is alone and there is nothing that needs to be done. For people in our studies who live by themselves and do not attend church, Sunday mornings are the lowest part of the week because with no demands on attention, they are unable to decide what to do. The rest of the week, psychic energy is directed by external routines, work, shopping, favorite TV shows, and so on. But what is one to do Sunday morning after breakfast? After having browsed through the papers? For many, the lack of structure of those hours is devastating. Generally, by noon, a decision is made. I mow the lawn, visit relatives, or watch the football game. A sense of purpose then returns, and attention is focused on the next goal. Why is solitude such a negative experience? The bottom line and answer is that keeping order in the mind from within is very difficult. We need external goals, external stimulation, external feedback to keep attention directed. And when external input is lacking, attention begins to wander and thoughts become chaotic, resulting in a state we have called psychic entropy in chapter 2. Once it is for this reason that television proves such a boon to so many people. Although watching TV is far from being a positive experience, generally people report feeling passive, weak, rather irritable, and sad when doing it. At least the flickering screen brings a certain amount of order to consciousness. The predictable plots, familiar characters, and even the redundant commercials provide a reassuring pattern of stimulation. The screen invites attention to itself as a manageable, restricted aspect of the environment. While interacting with television, the mind is protected from personal worries. The information passing across the screen keeps unpleasant concerns out of the mind. Of course, avoiding depression this way is rather stressful because one spends a great deal of attention without having much to show for it afterward. 173.4 Much of what passes for sexuality is also just a way of imposing an external order on our thoughts of killing time without having to confront the perils of solitude. Not surprisingly, watching TV and having sex can become roughly interchangeable activities. The habits of pornography and the personalized sex build on the genetically programmed adjustment of images and activities related to reproduction. They focus attention naturally and pleasurably, and in so doing help to exclude unwanted contents from the mind. What they fail to do is develop any of attention habits that might lead to a greater complexity of consciousness. The same argument holds for what might at first sight seem the opposite pleasure, but behavior risk-taking gambling. These ways that people try to hurt or frighten themselves do not require creative skill, but they do help one to achieve the sensation of direct expression, experience. Even pain is better than the chaos that slips into an unfocused mind. Hurting oneself, whether physically and or emotionally, ensures the attention can be focused on something that, although painful, is at least controllable since we are the ones causing it. The ultimate test for the ability to control the quality of experience is what a person does in solitude. With no external demands to give structure to attention. It is relatively easy to become involved with a job, to enjoy the company of friends, to be entertained in a theater or at a concert. But what happens when we are left to our own devices, alone when the dark night of the soul descends, and we force into frantic attempts to distract the mind from its coming? Or are we able to take on activities that are not only enjoyable but make the self grow? 172. But the teenage years are not the only time when it is crucial to learn how to explore the opportunities of solitude. Unfortunately, too many adults feel that once they have hit 20 or 30, or certainly 40, they are entitled to relaxing whatever habitual rules they have established. They have paid their dues, they have learned the tricks it takes to survive, and from now on they can proceed on cruise control. Equipped with the bare minimum of inner discipline, such as people inevitably accumulating entropy with each passing year. Career disappointments, failure of physical health, the usual slings and arrows of fate build up a mass of negative information that increasingly threaten their peace of mind. How does one keep these problems away? If a person doesn't know how to control attention in solitude, he will inevitably turn to the easy external solutions, drugs, entertainment, excitement, whatever does or distracts the mind. But such responses are regressive. They do not lead forward. The way to grow while enjoying life is to create a higher form of order out of the entropy that is an inevitable condition of living. This means taking each new challenge not as something to be repressed or avoided, but as an opportunity for learning and for improving skills. When physical vigor fails with age, for example, it means that one will be ready to turn one's energies from the mastery of external world to a deeper exploration of inner reality. It means that one can finally browse, take up chairs, grow orchards, help one's neighbors, and think about God if these are the things one had decided are worth pursuing. But it is difficult to accomplish any of them unless one has earlier acquired the habit of using solitude to good advantage. It is best to develop this habit early, but it is never too late to do so. In the previous chapters, we have reviewed some of the ways the body and the mind can make flow happen. When a person is able to call upon such activities at will, regardless of what is happening externally, then one has learned how to shape the quality of life. Taming solitude. Like other people who live alone in the wilderness, Dorothy has tried to personalize her surroundings to an uncommon degree. There are flower tubs, garden gnomes, discarded tools all over the grounds. Most trees have signs nailed to them, filled with doggerel rhythms, corny jokes, or horrid cartoons pointing to the shacks and outhouses. To an urban visitor, the island is the epitome of kitsch. But as extensions of Dorothy's day, Miss John creates a familiar environment where her mind can be at ease. In the midst of untamed nature, she has introduced her own style, her own civilization. Inside her favorite objects recall Dorothy's gold. She has stamped her preferences on chaos. One can survive solitude, but only if one finds way of ordering attention that will prevent entropy from destructuring the mind. Susan Butcher, the dog breeder and trainer who raises sleds in the Arctic for up to 11 days on end while trying to elude the attacks of rock, moose, and wolves, moved years ago from Massachusetts to live in a cabin 25 miles from the nearest village of Manly, Alaska, population 62. Before her marriage, she lived alone with her 150 huskies. She doesn't have the time to feel lonely. Hunting for food and caring for her dogs, who require attention 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, prevent that. She knows each dog by name and the name of each dog's parents and grandparents. She knows their temperaments, preferences, eating habits, and current health. Susan claims she would rather live this way than do anything else. The routine she has built demands that her consciousness be focused on manageable tasks all of the time, thereby making life a continuous flow experience. Is coping with loneliness by letting unnecessary yet demanding rituals give shape to the mind any different from taking drugs or watching TV constantly? It could be argued that Dorothy and the other hermits are escaping from reality just as effectively as the addicts are. In both cases, psychic entropy is avoided by taking the mind off unpleasant thoughts and feelings. Yet, how one copes with solitude makes all the difference. If being alone is seen as a chance to accomplish goals that cannot be reached in the company of others, then instead of feeling lonely, a person will enjoy solitude and might be able to learn new skills in the process. On the other hand, if solitude is seen as a condition to be avoided at all costs instead of a challenge, the person will panic and resort to distractions that cannot lead to high levels of complexity. Breeding furry dogs and racing sleds through Arctic forests might seem like a rather primitive endeavor compared to the glamorous antics of playboys of cocaine users. Yet in terms of psychic organization, the former is infinitely more complex than the latter. Lifestyles built on pleasure survive only in symbiosis with complex cultures based on hardware enjoyment. But when a culture is no longer able to or willing to support unproductive hedonists, those addicted to pleasure, lacking skill and discipline, therefore unable to fend for themselves, find themselves lost and helpless. That's it.